Week it's been in racing. It always is Melbourne Cup week. Sub-Zero Greg Hall and Lee Friedman, the big stars during the week with his victory in the Melbourne Cup. Bart Cummings created quite a stir on this program last Sunday morning and quite a reaction. More about the reaction in just a moment. But Bart was called before the VRC stewards on Tuesday and asked to explain exactly what he said on Sunday and the repercussions that his announcement on Let's Elope and her scratching made on the Melbourne Cup. So let's go back for a moment because we've had a lot of people ring in and want to re-look at this and see exactly how Bart reacted when I asked him about Let's Elope, who'd been forced to miss the McKinnon Stakes the day before.
She's officially notified the VRC 7:30 this morning she's not going to run.
So she's out officially? That's right. So well, that's huge news. Let's Elope officially scratched from the Melbourne Cup. It's pretty early to, I mean, you've accepted last night at 6:30 or whatever time, and you've scratched so early at 7:30 this morning. Well, if the weather improved and didn't rain overnight, we wanted to give every opportunity to run in the Cup, but looks the weather's going to stay the same. There's no possible chance of running in the conditions which they raced on yesterday. The horse was scratched at 2:29, 61 minutes before the Cup. Bart, I believe and I'm sure, was totally genuine. There was no reason for Bart to be skiting at all last Sunday. He didn't realise the horse was scratched. I know he's been pulled in by the VRC stewards and maybe given a light rap over the knuckles, but I think Bart was doing the absolute best for the horse. He was doing the absolute best for the connections and the absolute best for racing in general when he made that announcement. He believed the horse was out last Sunday. Max and Keith, your general thoughts on the whole situation that occurred after Bart's announcement last Sunday morning?
Firstly, on that situation, that did prove that Bart is a better judge of racehorses than Melbourne's weather. It did improve to a situation where early in the day, Let's Elope could have run and could have been competitive. But when it came to crunch time with the rain, she had to go. She couldn't have won the Cup and she might as well not have been in the field, inconvenience and all.
Max, you wrote an article during the week where you suggested that the VRC may say after 8:30 on race morning, no late scratchings in the Melbourne Cup.
Yes, I think that's fair and reasonable, Bruce. After all, the Melbourne Cup is a special race. Many thousands have had sweeps. People have got to get set between 10 o'clock and race time. It is a rule that exists with other feature double races. I think it's fair and proper to say if you think a horse is fit enough at 9:30 that he should run. Of course, he or she should run. If something should come up over that time...
Max, I'd have to challenge you strongly on that because we had the perfect example of the weather and the track deteriorating where these horses couldn't win. The owners didn't want to throw away the chance of $2 million.
Keith, horses that couldn't win. Mr Eurostar couldn't win, earned 100,000. Now, what I'm trying to say is horses like Mr Eurostar, Cross Swords, My Eagle Eye, are fit horses. At 9:30 they are fit horses. They mightn't be suited by the conditions, but it's not going to hurt them. Let's Elope was not a hard fit horse. It was going to hurt her. Pat Lawler did the right thing in allowing her to be pulled out. She couldn't have won anyway. Punters were saved something like $2.9 million in New South Wales alone. That was the correct thing to do. In future, I feel the correct thing to do, if a horse is fit at 8:30 in the morning, he should run. If you disagree, so be it.
I'm with Keith. I disagree. I think if the state of the track changes alarmingly, then the horse, if it hasn't got any chance on a heavy ground, should be allowed to be scratched.
But who's to say it hasn't got a heavy
Well,
chance?
Surely the trainer. Surely he knows the horse.
The trainer of Prince of Praise, Bruce Wallace, went to Pat Lawler and the stewards and asked to pull him out of the sprint on Tuesday, the same day.
The Great Western, where he ran second.
Yes, and the horse went out and ran second.
Honestly, Max, let's stick with Let's Elope. You're conceding that she couldn't have run and shouldn't have run.
Certainly.
Okay.
Yes, but at 8:30, you've got an exception to every rule there. I'm saying that Let's Elope couldn't have won anyway, and to go around under those circumstances might have broken her down and done her harm, and I don't want to see that happen.
No, that's for sure. I think we should introduce Greg Hall.
I have no complaints, Bruce, anyway.
Congratulations, Greg. It's been a magnificent comeback. It's been quite a year for you because it's been well documented. You were down in the dumps early in the year and things weren't going well for you on and off the track, and yet you've made this magnificent recovery.
Yeah, well, that's all in the past, Bruce, and the thing is get back into it, and, you know, I consider myself pretty lucky, and I've had a great couple of weeks and a great carnival, and that's what it's all about.
Those great couple of weeks, of course, a week earlier, 10 days earlier, the Cox Plate on Superimposed to do the double. No wonder you were jubilant in the saddle coming back on that short but memorable trip along the Roses, Greg.
Yeah, Keith, it's just a boy's dream as he starts off as a jockey, and like you say, to do the both of them in 10 days is something you could, in your wildest dreams, you couldn't imagine, but it's happened, so I've got to continue and win more of them.
Greg, you're riding so well you could have come from Sydney.
Thanks, Max, thank you.
When are you going home?
I've rode plenty of winners there too, mate.
Well, it's a funny thing, a lot of top Melbourne riders don't ride a lot of winners in Sydney. We can go back to Jack Purtell, but I do think over this carnival you've showed your worth. I think you're a good rider, an outstanding rider anywhere, and best of luck to you. They were great rides.
Thanks, mate.
When it rained, improved your chances?
Yeah, obviously, Bruce, I mean, but I did say, and I said for a long time all along, he doesn't have to have the wet track, and I'm still sticking by that, and I didn't want too much of the rain, actually. I didn't want it getting like Caulfield.
Was it a plan to put Vianda Cross on? I mean, you happened to get outside Vianda Cross, which was a stroke of magic, as it turned out. Was that something that you were looking for early in the race? To be around him, near him, have him maybe inside you?
No, never, Bruce. It's never a trait of mine, is look for other jockeys or look for better horses that we think they are, because if that was the case, I probably should be a punter.
But you must have been very, very happy moving across and having him inside you, knowing that in the betting and on form he was your principal danger, and that's where you've lobbed just there.
Yeah, and I mean, as luck would have it, it was there, and we got over the 2,000 metre crossing, and he seemed to be over racing to me, that horse, and the key is with Melbourne Cups or 2 mile races is you must get your horse relaxed, and he just seemed to be overworking a bit too far from home, and I thought, well, maybe he's going to have a bit of a problem.
We saw you go past the post with a lap to go, Greg. Sub-Zero was the grey, his midfield, the horse, the only horse on his inside is Vianda Cross. From barrier 15, you could not have dreamt that you could be in that position. That would have been what the doctor ordered, surely.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, Lee said, you know, 7th, 8th, 9th, or midfield, whatever the term is, but I mean, it was just perfect, like you said, Keith, but I've always been a great believer. None of these big races can be won, which we have experienced over the last 2 or 3 weeks, that if anything goes wrong, it doesn't matter if you're on the best horse, you can still get beat.
Greg, are you aware of all the horses around you in a race like this? Do you know exactly where the principal dangers are? I mean, the ones behind you, obviously, it's very difficult, but does a jockey have a feel for the whole field when he's out there?
Well, look, I really believe the secret is, I mean, we're all professionals and we've been taught one thing, and I mean, the thing is, especially being Melbourne Cups and long races, is you'll see in a minute, Bruce, a few horses will go round me here. Now, the main thing is you can't just panic because something's come from behind, and Gunnock Cavalieri, I think it was one, for example, and it's coming up now, but I mean, I've had a beautiful run right up to here. I've got my horse relaxed, and this is what wins big races. I mean, we've seen where little things go wrong in big races, and you hear so many stories about.
Is this the point, Greg, where you've taken off? I think this is a very tactical move at this stage of the race. You've gone, Die's in trouble.
Yeah.
How are you feeling there? Did you think you had the leaders covered?
No, well, what I did think is, Max, is I thought, now, I knew Shane had committed himself to stay on the inside. My plan was, once I got over that crossing, was to get a cart up, and I didn't want, or Lee didn't want in myself as any trouble at all as straightening up. So, I mean, to get those 2 or 3 horses carting into the straight as well was great.
You're going to be in front now, maybe 50 metres before you would like to be. So, your thoughts at this drive to the post?
Well, I just thought now, Keith, you're quite right. I probably was 50 metres in front before I wanted to, but I knew he had the Butte preparation. He'll run the 2 mile ride out, and I said, well, I'll soon see if the other horse will stay, which I never thought he would. And I don't think he was making any ground on him in the last 100 metres.
It's Lee Friedman's opinion that you were going to stand up in the irons and wave after going past the post, but you were too exhausted. Is that true?
No, it was far from that, Kay, I can assure you. I think I was a bit lucky in the Cox Plate. I never copped the fine, so I sort of still copped the tip.
What about the nerves before the race? Lee Friedman made a statement that you were very, very nervous, and he did say, just take it easy and relax.
Yeah, it's unlike me, Bruce, but it had been a big week, and I mean, you don't get many chances at the Melbourne Cup or the Cox Plate, and I knew this horse had a great chance, and I'm sure Michael, who's in the studio here, can relate to this.
Michael Clark, you're talking about.
Yeah,
He's coming up shortly.
I'll never ever forget Michael when he was riding at Calic. I've never ever said it to him, and I seen him having a cigarette and a cup of coffee in the coffee room before that year he won it, and you know each other, and I thought it was a little bit of uncanny of Michael, but yeah, there was plenty of nerves there, and because like I said, how many jockeys do we know that can be great riders and never win a Melbourne Cup? The great George Moore was one, wasn't he?
Sure.
He sure was, and Scobie Breezy.
Yeah, Greg, just one point. After looking at the race and the replays, many of us feel that Viander Cross may have been unlucky. What is just looking from our point of view in the stand, looking at the replays, what's your opinion on that line?
Now, I've had enough of this Viander Cross being unlucky, actually, Max, and, in all fairness to Shane, I mean, he's got a job to do, and, look, I mean, you guys know better than anybody, at the end of that race, I mean, I'll put the question back on you. Do you think he was pulling any ground off me? Like, I'm talking about the last 50 or 100 metres. OK, he might have got that little bit of a hold up there where I got carted into the race well on that, but he had, all being equal, he had a pretty fair, reasonable sort of run, didn't he?
I thought you led him at one stage in the straight by 6 lengths. He pulled at least 4 off you. At the end of 2 miles, I think that's a tough task. But nevertheless, I'm not taking, I think, the best ride, the best horse, perhaps on the day won it. But that's something we can argue about. I'm very interested in your opinion.
It's been some unlucky runners over the years. You could name them all. Natsky against Empire Rose and all of them.
The good ride.
I want to make a statement about Viander Cross, Max, so we can clear this up next year. He'll come back a super weight for age horse. And look out for that. I'd like to be riding him in the Cox Plate.
Better than naturalism?
Over 2,000.
Be careful.
I don't know what could happen there.
Be careful. You're riding for Freedman at the moment, and I just wanted. We've got a story on Lee and the Freedman boys. They were the brains trust behind Sub-Zero's victory. They've now got 2 cups under their belt, and the Freedman brothers, headed by Lee, Anthony, Richard, Michael, they've enjoyed a tremendous spring. And as Jim Wilson reports, success hasn't come easy for the clan from country New South Wales.
Things are good at the moment, but I'm a pragmatist. I've got a good team of horses. Next year I mightn't have anything, so I'll enjoy the success this year.
Sub-Zero holding Viander Cross at bay, and Sub-Zero wins the Melbourne Cup by 2 lengths.
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they grew up with that kind of background, that you kind of, united we stand, and they got stuck into it and decided that this is it.
The proud mother of the FBI, or Freedman Brothers Incorporated. These days they can't do anything wrong, winning their 2nd Melbourne Cup with Sub-Zero. That's on top of the Caulfield Cup 3 weeks ago and the Cox Plate. Total stakes earnings of $5 million in less than a month. They're the toast of Australian horse racing, and like some of the champs they've trained, their breeding is impeccable. Great-grandfather L.H. McLaughlin Sr. won the Melbourne Cup 3 times, and then in 1938, Granddad took Bourbon to 2nd in the great race. And the tradition continued with Father Tony, who bred horses in the New South Wales town of Yass. But his tragic death in 1984 saw the family battle to earn a living, and in fact the FBI seemed finished. Was there any time where you thought about just, giving it away? It was just getting too hard?
Yeah, we sort of thought about it, but we're not really qualified to do much else, so we stuck with it.
To stay afloat, the brothers gambled their life savings of $5,000 on a hack call Sitting Bull. It won, and they collected $70,000 to keep the dream alive. Sport has had its fair share of rags to riches tales, but they don't come any better than the Freedmans. Australian horse racing's own Awesome Foursome believe the turning point in their career came when Terrific won their first Melbourne Cup here at Flemington back in 1989.
Gouchy riding hard. Here's the stablemate, Terrific, fighting back as Cuds. Here's a great go, 200 to go. Terrific coming at Superimpose. Terrific doing better in the Melbourne Cup, and Terrific is going to win the Cup. Terrific gets up to win.
They work hard. They're very determined about becoming successful. And as I said to you, and I can say it again because it's just a case of when preparation meets opportunity, then you're successful.
Success has eased the pressure on the Freedmans, especially Lee, who hasn't become carried away with the spoils of victory, maintaining a sense of humour throughout his career. They call you the FBI now.
The FBI, some say it's a fat ball and ignorant.
This business.
Well, Greg Hall and the Freedman brothers. Greg, we've got to give Michael Clark a go. He's sitting in the wing, so we're going to have to say goodbye to you. We could talk forever about this cup, couldn't we? Congratulations, mate. Well done, eh?
Yep, thanks very much.
It's been a tremendous spring carnival for Lee Freedman, his stable, and for Greg Hall. Michael Clark joins us after this. Planet Ruler, running a very fast time again yesterday to win the Honda. Big prize winners in a number of the races yesterday, including the feature, the Honda Stakes, the last of the Group 1s for the spring. Michael Clark successful on an old favourite horse of a lot of punters in Planet Ruler. Michael, I'm not sure how many punters were favoured with him yesterday, but what a run. And can't he run sometimes when the tracks are fast?
Yes, Bruce, he's an exceptionally good horse, and he can win from 1200 to yesterday's distance of a mile and run very fast time.
He was the oldest horse in the race at 8 years, and probably we did overlook that he'd won twice before at Group 1 level at that distance, the George Main and the Toorak Handicap.
Yes, and 55 kilos yesterday, Keith, for him was probably a luxury weight. Even though he's been out of form a little bit, he does take a little bit of racing to come right, and yesterday's distance was probably ideal. As he's getting older, he's looking for a little bit more distance.
Hasn't it been a great season for 8-year-olds, though?
Yes, superimposed, Cox Plate, and yeah, and
Liquidity hasn't done too badly. So.
The thing with this fellow too is that his injury was probably worse than Better Loosen Up, and he's been able to make this remarkable recovery, hasn't he, Planet Ruler? He hasn't been a sound horse.
No, and that's probably a credit to our training facilities in Adelaide, Bruce, where they're doing all their pre-training, and the same with Better Loosen Up. Since he's had his leg injury, there's been no problem with that at all, and it's the conditions they're trained under, I think.
It'd be fair comment, I suppose, Michael, to say the stable, the David Hayes stable, has been off the boil, mostly the wetter tracks?
Well, this spring's been, you know, so wet, and we haven't had the conditions to suit our horses, and I think it's put the progress of our 2-year-olds well behind, and the wet conditions don't suit a lot of our older horses, Keith.
Yeah, I think that David's not the only trainer in that boat, though. To be fair, a lot of the other trainers, Bart Cummings has also had a lot of horses that haven't been suited to wet tracks, and it's probably been a problem all around Australia. Let's go and have a look at the Honda. It was a spectacular win in the end for Planet Ruler. He came with a steaming run.
At the 950-metre mark, Prince of Praise carting them along a half to Solve at second. 3 to Big Dreams third, a half Soho Square with a nice run fourth, a length for the back, Infallible out 3 deep. Then Ready to Explode over on the inside, Veins of and followed by Take the Road. Dan Jicky out wide and for the back, Matinee Idol followed by Excited Angel, and pulled out wide then is Palm Beach Vows. Back to the rail from Prince Algeria, fairway back from Let's Hurry, T-Habit, Black Sun and Planet Ruler. Homeward bound Solve it on the outside of Prince of Praise. They're a length and a half to Soho Square. Big Dreams trying to get out from further back, then Ready to Explode, and Vows about to get its way clear. Then Take the Road, Dan Jicky down the outside. Prince Algeria's not in the race. Soho Square got to Solve it. Prince of Praise at the 250-metre mark from Vows, and then Dan Jicky followed by Take the Road. The leader here is Soho Square. Vows coming after it, and old Planet Ruler with a great run out wide. Soho Square in front, Vows, Planet Ruler over the top of them, and Planet Ruler. Planet Ruler's got up to win the Honda from either Soho Square and Vows.
It's nothing more exciting than seeing a horse respond, as that horse did, and lengthen his stride under pressure, and well-timed run, Michael, to get up. What's his situation? Do you think he will go to Perth?
I think David's talking about taking across for the railway, Bruce. It just depends what weight he gets in that. But even a race like the Winfield Stakes, their 1800-metre weight for age would be ideal as well, I'd say.
And what about Better Loosen Up on that point? Because he has been to Perth and been very successful in the past. Is he likely to go as well?
Well, David did mention that he might take him across for the Winfield. He's pulled up extremely well since the Melbourne Cup. You know, after the Melbourne Cup, the horses can be a little bit jaded, but he's pulled up exceptionally well, Bruce.
Well, the stable also had some success yesterday with the Courtship Band. Keith, I don't think I've ever seen a better thing at the furlong pole in any race than Rough Habit yesterday. He was going to trot in, wasn't he?
They don't pay at the furlong pole.
Oh, Max, don't I know?
You're entitled to be in the queue there, though, weren't you?
Oh,
it was home.
It was home, and I thought Jim Cassidy rode extremely well.
Well, every commentator made a reference to it being home. I think the course broadcaster, Greg Miles, said making light of his big weight or something like that, you know.
Now, did he... I'm going to ask you this question. Did he fail to stay 2500, or Remember in Brisbane when he had a race one and
Rosser Boy.
Yeah. What do you think on that, Max? Because you're very controversial. No. Say something again.
I say he had 59 kilos. I'd say if he had 56, he would have stayed the distance all right. It was a course record. It was running at a very fast time. He was conceding 10 kilos, obviously, to a very dour stayer. It was just a matter of the weight and the time that beat him, but Rough Habit is still an outstanding racehorse.
A year ago, I said on this program that Rough Habit really shouldn't be going to Japan. The connections have never forgiven me, so today I'm saying nothing.
OK, well, he is genuine. I wasn't being facetious there. He's a genuine racehorse. Have a look at him at the furlong, going to win. Shane Dye on David Hayes trained Corchaban fights back to beat him.
Coming up to the 700, quarter band still by a length on Captain Cook, travelling well, a length and a half beach side, half a length to Delmar. Mannerism back behind them over on the outside of Rich Dreams, being followed then by Mountain Rill. Rough Habit looking for a run, Tough Enough is next, and Mr Eurostar well back still with Cross Swords, and last is NASA Rocket as they straighten up with about 450 to run. Quarter band has kicked away about 2 lengths to Captain Cook, and beach side is now starting to come home. Mannerism down the outside, and they're followed by Rich Dreams, and further back in the field, here comes Rough Habit. Rough Habit getting through on the inside is coming quickly at this leader quarter band. Rough Habit looks to be going a lot the better. Cassidy having a look over the shoulder. He's got it all parcelled up, and Rough Habit, a great performer, is racing home. No, quarter band's kicking again, but Rough Habit's in front. Rough Habit getting tired. Quarter band kicking again. I think quarter band might have nosed him out. Quarter band may have nosed Rough Habit out of it. In third place, NASA Rocket.
Well, it's a long way, that Flemington Straight. You were in front on that Talaka fair way from home in that Melbourne Cup in '86, and they almost got you, didn't they?
Yes, Bruce, it's a long last 200 metres there.
Would you like Corchaban to go to Perth, and would you be interested in riding him there?
I think he'd be a good chance, Bruce. He's a very tough staying horse, and I think that Shane rated him well yesterday in making it a true staying test with his lightweight.
What did you think of Naturalism yesterday, Keith? We're about to have a look at the Grey Smith.
I thought he was sensational. He carried 9 stone 13 in the old weight. That is nearly, well, it's nearly 10 stone.
It is actually, Keith. It's 1 pound short.
Thank you, Bruce. He was sensational. Please watch the finish. Watch Mick Dittman with his whip. He's only kidding to this horse. He gives him 1 hit only with the whip.
OK, here's the Grey Smith and this magnificent galloper Naturalism.
Down the side with about 900 metres left to go. It's Ahura making play about a length to Silk Ali, who's travelling well. 2 lengths away, Pelotona, followed by At Best on the outside of Kaviri, a length and a half, Naturalism. Still racing 1 deep around the outside of Cool Credit as they come up in the direction of the home turn. Baron Samedi back behind them, Famous Necker, and they're followed by Mango's Lunch. And last of all in the event, round the turn they come, Ahura the leader, by a length to Silk Ali as they're homeward bound in third place. At Best starting to run on Kaviri behind them, looking for a run. Naturalism coming down the outside, making ground is next, followed by Baron Samedi and Pelotana. 400 metres left to go. Ahura the leader, tackled by Silk Ali, and down the outside Naturalism is coming after them, and Kaviri getting through in the centre. Naturalism's now under pressure. Silk Ali's hit the front. Naturalism trying to get to him in third place is Kaviri, and then Ahura. Silk Ali being tackled by Naturalism on the outside. Naturalism's almost level. Naturalism, Silk Ali fighting on Naturalism. Silk Ali, they hit the line. Oh, very tight. Naturalism or Silk Ali in a very tight finish. Finishing right on their heels. Third is Cool Credit.
Magnificent ride, you're right, Keith, with Dittman on Naturalism. What a horse he is. One of the anomalies of this spring has been, Max, that Naturalism hasn't won a Group 1 race, and I think people will feel in a way that he's been the horse of the spring, yet he hasn't won at Group 1 level.
That is a great racehorse. I'd like to ask Michael Clark, can he win the Japan Cup?
You should know, Michael, you're the only Australian jockey to have won it.
I think he can, Max. He's a great horse where he can quicken in his race, and he's got a tremendous sprint, and he takes a lovely position in a race, and you could say, you know, over 2400 he's going to have the run of the race, and with his acceleration he's going to be very hard to beat in the Japan Cup.
He'll want to be. This is the best field they've ever had. AP Indy looks like running now, the horse that won the $3 million race last week in America. He's the horse of the year, and user-friendly, and Subotica look like running.
I think Naturalism has all the ingredients to be most competitive. Incidentally, it's modest, Michael, this morning, because congratulations, Michael, you have been chosen to represent Australia in the Super Jockeys series in Japan. Well done.
Thank you.
When's that on, Michael? Is that
the 5th and the 6th of December, Bruce, which I'm looking forward, you know, very much to going over for.
Well, that's just after the Japan Cup. That should be tremendous. Let's go back to the Oaks on Thursday. An upset here in a way. Love Comes to Town was very short price favourite. Didn't fire a shot. And slight chance, Shane Dye gets into a bit of trouble. We'll show you about that in a moment. At the start of the race, went to the front, and she showed a lot of courage to win.
Then Queen's Choice, followed by a 0 at the 800 metre mark from Kingston Spirit. Love Comes to Town back second to third last, with Bubble Over starting to come to the outside, and last of all in the Oaks is Burst, but taken out deep. At the 700-metre mark they race now, and the leader Slight Chance about a half in front. Mahaya's gone up on the outside, and the Sydney fillies turn for home in front. Mahaya now on the outside of Slight Chance, where they flatten for the run home. Then Goog's Dream followed by as Euro further out. Further back then came Kingston Spirit. Love Comes to Town, still about 6 lengths off them, and Burst down the outside. Mahaya got its head in front, 300 to go. Slight Chance fights back. Further out is Burst, then Love Comes to Town under pressure from Yodelay. Slight Chance and Mahaya. Dyer's got Slight Chance to fight back and drew a length in front of Mahaya. Further out then Burst, but Slight Chance in front for Shane Dye, and Slight Chance has won the Oaks. Slight Chance, 3/4 Mahaya. I think a nose away, third out wide Burst.
Shane Dye over Greg Hall that time. Funny game, isn't it, racing? Well, Sydney fillies ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wasn't going to tell Max that, but I'm sure he took note. But Max, there was an incident, and Keith, at the start of the race, it almost cost Shane Dye and Slight Chance the race. Watch her, closest to screen on the outside. Stumbles after the start, and Shane has to hang on for dear life. Here we go, down on her nose, and he almost out the back for a moment. So it wasn't the best of starts. She was entrapped very wide on the first turn, and it really was an outstanding performance to win. Did you notice that Sydney fillies were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Max?
It was mentioned in the Sydney Morning Herald up high. Love Comes to Town pulled up lame, going for a spell, and the run of the race was undoubtedly Burst.
Yeah, good run. I thought the winner was the run of the race. She had to be used up to win.
There were flops galore on Oakstone. In fact, it was a tough carnival to win. The only race I didn't lose on, Bruce, was the Jockeys Legends race yesterday. There's no betting on that.
No, Mick Mangan joined the club, Keith. We're both not quite as rich as we were this time last week, but just as happy. Max, you're going to take a break for a few weeks. Tremendous working with you over the last 6 or 7 weeks. You're difficult to get along with, but we have enjoyed it.
Yes, well, it's been very good to be in Melbourne, but I can't say I'm sorry to be heading north in about 3 minutes.
Well, there'll be a lot of people at the airport wishing you well and hoping you don't come back in a hurry, Keith.
Bendigo Cup, the two-day meeting this week. This tie is from Coonabarabran, the Coonabarabran Jockey Club. They had their big cup day last month, but I've only got one neck and couldn't wear them all during the spring.
I was going to say, don't tell Max where that is. Michael, well done yesterday. Good luck in Japan and good luck for the rest of the year. And also to Greg Hall, who was our guest earlier. A break, the AFL football draft coming up after this.